Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we sift through, well, piles of research, data, all sorts of sources, really, to pull out the insights that matter most just for you. Today, we are plunging into something huge, something that honestly touches everyone in 2025, the incredible power wielded by billionaires in America. And it's not just about the money anymore, is it? It's their expanding control, politics, media, tech, even space, believe it or not. So our mission today, cut through all that noise. We want to boil down what we've found, give you the core insights, help you really get what this massive concentration of power means for the country's future and, yeah, for you personally. Okay, let's unpack this. How about we start with the numbers, the sheer scale of the wealth. Because the figures, when you actually stop and look, they're kind of staggering. We're talking over 700 billionaires just in the U.S. and collectively, trillions in wealth, trillions. But get this data point. This one really gets home from our sources. The top 1% now own more wealth than the entire bottom 90% put together. That's not just a gap. It feels more like a canyon.
It really is. And what's fascinating and maybe a bit troubling is how this wealth just kept growing, even when things were tough for a lot of people. Our analysis, looking through the data, it shows billionaire wealth surging, often really fast. While at the same time, the middle class was dealing with inflation, wages not keeping up, just general economic uncertainty.
Yeah.
So it's not just stats on a page. It feeds this feeling, this perception many have that the whole American dream idea, it looks different now. Less like something open to everyone and maybe, well, more like an exclusive billionaires club.
That makes you think, right? I mean, with that kind of money concentrated in so few hands, how does it not spill over into other kinds of influence? And our sources are pretty clear on this financial power. It doesn't just sit passively in accounts. Oh, no.
Right.
It actively translates into political clout, real leverage.
Exactly. And it's not just that money goes into politics. That's always happened to some extent. What's critical now, and what the research points to, is how it flows.
You mean things like super PACs?
Precisely. These vehicles allow just enormous sums, often you can't even trace where it came from, to pour in without any limits. It means a handful of people can potentially outspend, whole campaigns or movements run by ordinary folks.
It's more than just influence. It's like a financial override.
Yeah.
Silently shaping laws.
That's a good way to put it. Reshaping laws not just for the wealthy, but often by them, through lobbying and contributions. And what's really striking, as you mentioned, is how many play both sides, funding Democrats and Republicans.
Right, ensuring their interests are covered regardless of who wins the election. Yeah. Smart for them, maybe, but
it adds to this bigger picture issue, doesn't it? This question of public trust. You hear it from ordinary citizens, this feeling, sometimes it's cynicism, sometimes anger, that democracy is for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And that creates a real sense of disempowerment. Like, does my vote even matter as much as their dollars? It fundamentally shifts the power dynamic.
So, if that's the feeling on the ground, what does that imply? For the basic health and integrity of our democratic system, it really makes you question the fairness of the whole playing field. And okay, moving beyond direct politics, this wealth also massively shapes the information you get, right? How public conversations happen.
Absolutely. The sources highlight billionaire ownership of major news outlets. That directly impacts what gets covered and maybe more importantly, how it's framed, the slant.
And it's not just old school media anymore.
Not at all. You've got tech billionaires controlling the giant social media platforms. That's where so many people get their news now. And the algorithms running these platforms, well, they're built to maximize engagement, keep you scrolling, not necessarily to show you the most accurate or balanced information.
Profit over truth, basically. Or maybe profit over nuance.
You could say that. It can create these, well, one source called them informational echo chambers. The algorithm feeds you more of what you already seem to like or agree with. It reinforces biases, makes it harder for different viewpoints or sometimes just inconvenient facts to break through.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up subtly shaping public opinion, maybe more than fostering a real open debate when just a few control the flow. That's a challenge for an informed public.
And that hits you directly, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
affects your ability to get balanced info, to really understand what's going on. If everything's filtered through a lens designed for clicks or specific interests,
Yeah.
getting the whole picture, that becomes really tough. Okay, now, for something a bit different, almost sci-fi, but is real. There's this other arena where billionaire influence is just doom in space.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it? We're seeing this new private space race, Musk's SpaceX, Bezos's Blue Origin. They're the big players right now. It's exciting tech for sure, but it absolutely brings up some huge questions.
Like what? What are the big concerns?
Well, the sources really dig into this. Are they doing this for all of humanity?
Huh.
Pushing the frontier for everyone? Or is it more about, well, the same kind of self-interest and profit-seeking we see down here, just on a planetary or interplanetary scale?
Hmm.
I mean, think about it. Who owns Mars if a private company gets there first? Who gets the resources from asteroids? Who controls all those satellites whipping around Earth, becoming essential infrastructure?
Yeah, those are fundamental questions.
Yep.
And our sources definitely picked up on a kind of anxiety around this, a fear of a new frontier ruled by the richest. That phrase stuck with me.
It's powerful. It's like, are we exporting inequality into space, setting up a cosmic future based on who has the most capital now?
It's a lot to think about. Okay, let's bring it back down to Earth for a moment, back to the everyday impacts. Because this massive wealth gap, it has very real consequences for workers, for families, right here, right now.
Absolutely. The research is full of examples. Think about gig economy workers, often pitched as flexible, independent. But the reality for many is unpredictable pay, no benefits like health insurance or sick leave, intense competition pushing wages down.
All the risk is on them, basically.
Pretty much. While the platforms themselves generate enormous value, and then there's the whole AI automation wave.
Right, the threat of jobs just disappearing across different industries. Millions potentially affected.
And this widening gap, this sense of unfairness, it's not just an economic issue. It fuels real anger, frustration. We see it driving protests, political radicalism sometimes. For a lot of ordinary families, that basic promise of the American dream, work hard, get ahead, it feels, well, broken.
How can it not when they see headlines about record CEO bonuses while their own bills keep going up and their job feels less secure?
Exactly. It creates this feeling of being squeezed, caught between rising costs and a shaky job market, while this tiny group at the top just pulls further and further away, seemingly unaffected.
And that hits home for you, the listener. It's about your economic future, your sense of security in this changing landscape. So given all this, the immense concentration of power, the impacts, the obvious next question is, can anything be done? Can this billionaire power be, checked somehow?
That's the big debate right now. And yes, our sources show there's definitely a growing conversation and even some action. You hear more and more calls for things like wealth taxes, stronger regulations on corporations and finance.
And the antitrust stuff against big tech seems to be gaining traction too.
It is. Those lawsuits are trying to tackle the monopoly power issue head on. And you also see, especially among younger generations, a real push for fundamentally fairer economic systems, more accountability for the super rich.
It feels like the conversation is shifting.
It does, and it leads to this really profound, almost philosophical question that kept popping up in the material. Should billionaires even exist?
Wow, okay, that's fundamental.
It is. It pushes past specific policies. Some argue, look, huge wealth is just the reward for innovation, for creating jobs. That's one side. But the sources we looked at, they mostly focus on the other side. The societal cost of concentrating so much power, the potential damage to democracy, to equality, to social cohesion.
It forces you to really weigh those arguments, doesn't it? To think about the kind of society we actually want. What are the trade-offs? Okay, so wrapping this deep dive up, it feels like the main takeaway from all our reading is pretty stark. In 2025, billionaires aren't just wealthy individuals anymore. They've become something more, like architects of America's destiny, shaping politics, information, the economy, even space.
That really captures it. And maybe the core question left hanging, the one for everyone listening to really chew on, is the one you raised earlier. Are they building a better future for all of us? Or are they, perhaps unintentionally or not, building it primarily for themselves?
Yeah. When that much power rests with so few, what kind of society does that ultimately create? That's a heavy thought. And maybe the final thing to ponder is, what's our role? What's the role of citizens in shaping that future when the scale feels so immense? Lots to think about there. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll keep wrestling with these big questions.